Welcome to the GrayHawk DJC podcast. In today's podcast, we talk with Valery Jean-Bart, owner of Val's Cheesecakes in Dallas, Texas. We hope you enjoy the podcast. Hey, Val.
Hey, how are you?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
It's been a long time coming, this video. I think we first connected like 6-9 months ago?
Yes, we did.
Right?
It's been a while.
I know. But thank you for doing this. I really wanted to interview you because I looked at your website. You got one of the most unique stories.
Thank you.
Of anyone that we've ever interviewed.
Oh,
so
boy.
I'm excited. All right.
So it's set up way up here.
Sure, absolutely. But let's start. Tell us where you're from, a little background about yourself, just so everybody gets to know you. Yeah.
All right. Well, my name is Val. My full name is Valery Jean-Bart. I am born and raised in Haiti.
Okay.
So I am no spring chicken. I'm turning 45 this year.
All right.
I grew up in Haiti, all the way to the age of 16. I think I finished my 10th grade there.
Okay.
And I came to the state. My mom told me, you have to go find your brothers. They were at UF already, which is University of Florida.
Okay.
And she said, I have to go. And I said, Ma, I don't want to go. I just wanted to stay in Haiti and party with my friends, go to the beach, and I had these rich friends.
Right.
And I wasn't a rich kid. I went to school with a bunch of rich kids.
His life was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but those rich kids were doing bad stuff.
Okay. All right.
And I think my mom saw that and she took one look at me and said, "Excuse me." And in Haiti, when a mother says, "Excuse me," "excuse him," it's like, it means fix your face, fix what you just told me, repeat again, do it better. So after she said that, I said, okay, we're going to the States. And so I came here to Greenville, Florida, went to high school there.
Okay. And
then after high school, went to Eastside High School. And then after 2 years of high school, went to University of Florida.
Did you come with your mother? Or by yourself?
My mom stayed. My mom and my dad stayed, but my two brothers were sent to Greenville, Florida, to the University of Florida to study.
Right.
So I had two brothers there already. So it just made sense that I finished high school there, because my mom didn't want for me to pay the fee that they were paying, because they were basically out of state.
Right.
Because, so my mom knew, okay, let's get him early into the system. Let's get him in the state so we don't have to pay what we're paying for the other kids.
Sure.
So that's exactly what I did. And I went to college there, got my degree in civil engineering. Graduated in 2000, and then in 2000 just started to work in Jacksonville, Florida, worked in Orlando, worked for different private firms, and then lastly in 2008 moved to Texas.
What brought you to Texas?
Texas was I was turning 30, and I had never taken a risk in my life. I have been the good kid.
Okay.
I've been the one I went to school and did what my mom's did, told me to do. And so up to 30, I had never taken a risk. I had a lot of baggage in Florida, meaning family baggage. My family was always coming in and out. And I said, am I ever going to have a life? So I said, let me move to Dallas, because I watched the show Dallas in French in Haiti.
Sure.
This is pure, this is truth.
That's it. The only reason you picked Dallas, right? Okay.
Till this
That's
day, we used to watch Dallas in French and Haiti.
Right.
And I just always thought, okay, I could get along there. It seemed like there's cowboys, there's ranch, but there's the city life. JR is going in and out of ranch and city. I'm like, this is going to work just fine for me. So I moved here in 2008 and got hired with the city of Arlington as an engineer, and just continued to do engineering.
Did you always want to be an engineer?
In Haiti, you have three options. It's either an engineer or a doctor, or a lawyer.
All right.
Those are the things you're not specifically told to do that, but it's when you do say that, it's like, oh yeah, my son is going to be an engineer. Yeah,
right.
yeah. And it sounds nice, and you don't get in trouble with
Sure.
your parents, because in Haiti we fear, and that's what keeps us out of trouble. You know, I think kids, the discipline, I never got corporal punishment, but I fear
Right.
the look and the disdain of my father and my mother. So that's why I kept a straight line, walked a straight line.
Sure.
So engineer, I was always good in math.
Okay.
And I said, I'm going to use that, and why not be a civil engineer? I know that's what my country needs. So there was a little bit of wanting to please parents, you know, coming from a third world country, knowing what my country needs is doctors, lawyers, and civil engineers. I said, why not? This is perfect for me, and I'm good in math.
Right.
So why not do that? So it was a lot of cultural influences into that decision.
Okay.
So I came to Texas and got hired with the city of Arlington, worked for different districts and different entities. And then, but at the same time, my mom came to visit me in 2008, and I saw she wasn't breathing right. So I immediately took her to Presbyterian Plano, and they found the cancer. And the doctor told me outside the room, your mom has 6 months to live. So that changed the whole game.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So she came and to me outside the room and told me that. And then somehow I keep forgetting how I convinced a very well-known doctor in the Metroplex to not go back into the room and say exactly what the diagnosis is, because it was terminal breast cancer. It was all over her lungs, liver, and so on. So I convinced her somehow to go back in there and say that she has a chronic cancer disease.
Okay.
So my mom never heard the word terminal.
Wow.
So I made it a point for 4 years. The doctor is not going to say that. The nurse is not going to say that. She's not going to see the paper that says terminal breast cancer or anything like that. If it was going to be uttered, I made sure I pushed the tank of oxygen on the floor, created a scene just to get that off her mind.
So she never heard that?
She never heard that. She never heard that. But I think my mom was smart enough. My mom, I think at the end of the 4 years, she knew it wasn't looking good. But as long as, because even in the hospital, when the doctor gave her the diagnosis, she hears a doctor. And she's a very smart woman. She's a businesswoman. She went to school, very well educated. Here's a just very formidable woman sitting on a bed with a diagnosis, and a doctor who's like pretty well known, an oncologist, and you would think the conversation is understood, but at that time there was so much going on with her. She turns to me and says, Val, is this your understanding? And I confirmed it. Yes. I said, yeah.
Right.
That is what you have. You have a chronic. And as long as I could confirm it, it was real for her.
Right, right.
So that's all she needed to hear.
But still, 6 months to 4 years, that's a long time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And it's me advocating for my mom, pushing the doctors, taking her to get second opinions, trying drugs. The doctor says, hey, we have some drugs, they're rough. Let's try some pills, whatever you got. Every treatment we tried, pushing and pushing and pushing. And then I think just also there's no way to scientifically say that the love, the touch,
right,
the care that I provided for my mom, I don't know how to prove that. And of course, the oncologist would look me different. But I do feel that when you have a person advocating for you, not just the doctors talking bills and directives and so on like that, but when you have a person who's invested into making sure that you get up and that you sleep through the night, that you eat, and that your mind gets off the disease, So I was invested for 4 years. It was just, this woman is going to take a walk. This woman is going to get up and get herself a glass of water.
Right.
It's like, it's hard decisions like this that gets me going for 4 years, and it was tough. There were moments where my mother was exhausted with me.
So you're the primary caretaker for her. Is she living with you at this time?
No. My mom, so the whole story is, so I took care of my mom for 4 years. And then in 2012, she came to visit me in June of 2008.
Okay.
We found the cancer. The diagnosis gave me until December 2012. That didn't happen. And she stayed with me she gave me 4 years here in Dallas. And I took care of her, and she passed away in August of 2012.
Okay.
And so that's where, throughout the 4 years, my mom and I baked desserts every Sunday.
What caused that? Did she always baking stuff? Or?
So what happened? People. She was in New York. She immigrated to New York in 1966 and fell in love with cheesecake.
Okay.
And she worked there as a young girl, 21 years old, at a Jewish bakery. She was the only Haitian girl working there, and she learned how to make cheesecake. So she fell in love with the dessert, and then in 1976, my dad and my mom decided, we want to go back to Haiti. We want to have a Haitian kid. And
sure.
there is the Haitian kid. So that's what happened, and my mother fell in love with New York cheesecake. And then when she came here, the cancer was eating her taste buds. It was pretty hard to taste. She was always complaining, it's burning. My tongue is burning. So it's really a physiological connection she made. She said, okay, I love cheesecake. It cools my taste bud. And that's how we started to bake the cheesecake. It was just a chemo solution. Right. So we baked it every Sunday, and then after 4 years, she passed away, and then I had a lot of emotional unrest. Right. You know, I was like, obviously, for 4 years, how? Because my life is dedicated to a person for 4 years. What do I do with myself now? You know. Right. So I said, I have a lot of recipes that I baked with her. I'm gonna put that into a business. I'm gonna get the name of the business, and I'm going down to the county. That is the first thing I did. I went down to the county thinking I know what I'm doing. Right. All right. I know what I'm doing. Right. And I'm gonna go to the county. I'm gonna grab my name, Val Cheesecakes. That's my name. That's all you need to put a business together, and that's not all you need. And
you've never operated one before this time?
Never.
Okay.
Never. I've only had, the only business notion I've had was just my mother, who had a photography business in Haiti. Okay. And that's how she put us through school. That's how she ran her business. You know, she actually quit she actually quit engineering the same age. I quit engineering the same age that she quit her lab technician work to do her business. So at the age of, I think, 35, she quit lab technician and put her photography business together. So
you quit your job first to do the cheesecakes?
So let me get the chronology right here. So for 4 years, I took care of my mom. So I was still working as an engineer. Okay. So in December 2012, I went ahead and got my business name, but I was still an engineer. Yeah. So I continued to work, but I also was moonlighting as a baker at night at St. Paul United Methodist Church, and I was baking there. Okay. And I was getting up in the morning and asking restaurants, please carry my cheesecake, please carry, please.
These were cold calls.
These were just emails. I was just finding emails, and I would run through at lunchtime. As an engineer, I would say, okay, I have 10 restaurants. I have to pick 10 restaurants and send an email to 10 restaurants. Right. And then I would just wait and see if anybody would take. And I've sent, I think it must have been over 100 emails.
Who was your first response?
The first response was Oddfellows in Bishop Arts. And Matt Spillers, the owner at that time, said, I want you to bring one cheesecake. All right. And I brought 13 cheesecakes. Okay. And he said, Val, I told you to bring one cheesecake. I said, I'm sorry. I just want you to taste what I got, what my mom experienced. And he actually ended up carrying about 3 different flavors at Oddfellows. And then he had Union Bear at the West Village. He carried it there. And then Opening Bell Coffee is still in existence.
So how does he order from you? Is it?
So so we went to the tasting, and then he would assign me the chef. This is the chef that is going to work with you. And these are the flavors we want. And then he would just call me and say, we need about 6 cheesecake this week. Okay, so can you deliver them at this time? We need Nutella cheesecake, we want classic cheesecake, and then we want the bacon graham cracker cheesecake. So that it was just we had, and mind you, I had a business partner at that time, so Christopher Reese was my business partner at that time. He was more of the business side, and I was more of the creative side. So I had, like, compared to other business owners, I had help. I didn't do it by myself. It was a foundation, a friend of mine, that was his church where I was baking. So I had a lot of help to put my business together. So forming an LLC, going down to the county and registering with the county, all that was part of his mind frame, his mindset. And he did exactly that. Until this day, I will always say thank you, Christopher Reese, always. But we did that for 2.5 years.
And you're still working?
I'm still working.
As an engineer?
As an engineer. And then in 2015, I'm passing by the Maple location, that little shack by the Grapevine Bar. And I'm passing by there, and I said, I'm just going to go see what's in there. And they're selling something, and I'm like, what could it be? And they're actually selling tacos. And I stood there, and the lady was making tacos, and she never turned to the window to see if I was there. And I got so mad. I said, my God, this is customer service. This is customer service. This is horrible. So the next day, I went to the owner of the Grapevine Bar and said, please, 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 I would love to take this space. And she told me there's a person in there. And then next week I come by, the lady's gone. I'm like, please, 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 let me have this place. And she actually said, okay, let's do it, but these are the rules. I've had a lot of issues with previous tenants and stuff like that. And she gave me that space, and that's how Val Cheesecake had its first brick and mortar on Maple. So you obviously had to pay for that space, right? Yes.
It was just out of pocket?
Yes.
So you had already saved up money for this?
So I had a 401k account. So I've been working since 2000 and started a account since then that I carried over and over. I went from one firm to another. I carried that 401k. When I moved here, I started to work for the city of Arlington, so I turned it into an IRA. I took the money and transformed it there. So I have that money there that I was putting into and saving. So in 2015, I took a portion of that, and then I cashed it out, and then put I think it cost me about $15,000.
But you had to pay a penalty for that, right?
Yes, I had to pay that. But I knew where I was going to get my return. So that was the thing. It was an easy way, because I knew going for a business loan in this world, until this day, I think if you walk into any bank, it's pretty hard to get a business loan. They put you through the ringer to get a business loan. Did we have a portfolio? No. Did we have a business plan? No. So I calculated in my head the time and effort to do all that. Let me just use my 401k to my benefit and see if I can get a return on that, and at least get my penalty back. So that's exactly what I did, and I put about $15,000 in that location, but luckily I hit the lotto too. I found a location. It was a second generation kitchen. It had a grease trap. A grease trap is a major investment for any business owner. A vendor hood is a major investment. It's about $30,000 to $35,000 for a vendor hood. A grease trap is the same too. And so it had refrigeration in there. It had a pizza brick oven. So we gladly took it.
Right.
The owner, those were all her equipment that she put in there to rent out to business owners.
Oh, wow.
So till this day, the shack is there, and it's a 255 square foot location. That's all it is. It's one room, and it is decked out. And that's a location that I found it, and thank God I found it. And that's how my investment was so low at that time, because it had fridges in there. It has all these equipment in there for me.
All right.
Yeah.
So, you get the location.
Yeah.
When do you decide to go full time and quit?
So I had that location going. I opened that location in June of 2015, and then a year and a half later, I'm like, okay, we need space. We can do more. We want people to experience.
Business is good.
Yeah, business is good.
Right.
And then weather, right? So the shack is very small. So you can't come inside.
Okay.
And that literally, I remember the feeling of seeing the customers outside when it's too hot, when it's raining, when it's cold. And I said, I want to offer comfort. I want the customers to come and sit down inside and be outside of the element.
Right.
And so that feeling just kept growing. I said, we need more. I need a space where they can come in and experience the brand and be comfortable too. So I looked for a location, and around June of 2017, I found this location and started the negotiation. And then in August, I went full time.
Okay. How's that feel? Oh, how did that feel?
That felt scary.
Okay.
I'm not gonna sit here and say I didn't know if I was doing the right decision. And I said,
because you lost salary, benefits, everything.
Yes.
Okay. Right.
Comfort. I lost comfort. So I'm always saying, do you want comfort or do you want happiness? And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't judge anyone that has a 9-to-5 job, and I don't judge anyone who wants to go out and do their own business. There's nothing wrong. You have to choose what makes you at ease, what puts you at peace at night. If it's comfort, if it's having every 2 weeks a paycheck and you know where it's coming from, there's nothing wrong with that. And nobody should look down towards a person who's working a 9-to-5 job, and vice versa. So I gave all that up, but I had a 401k account.
Right. You still had that, right? Okay.
I had that 401k account, and I said, okay, this is what we're gonna do. I have a business, and I actually went to a bank, and I found it difficult to borrow. They gave me a small credit line, and I thought, I need much more than that for this location, because this location here was in a mess. There was a taco shop before me. We're not gonna name names. They left us with a lot of work. Okay, and mold.
Okay. Right.
Okay, and I cannot tell you how much it costs to do remediation on mold. And so the mold was all over. We had to cut 2 feet off the perimeter of the whole wall inside, and so that little line of credit was not going to cover it at all. So I said, all right, so let me just use my 401k account and leverage that. And that's exactly how I got this place. Every time I look at these walls, the ceiling, I'm like, that's the 401k account.
Right. So you're in debt now.
Am I in debt?
Are you in debt right now?
No. I have finished paying. I cashed out my 401k.
Oh, I see.
And I paid the penalty for it. Right. And I said, I'm gonna get my money back. And so I don't have no debt. I never did a loan to a bank to get this place.
So instead of just a portion of it, like the first shop, took the full amount out.
I took the whole thing
and then put it in here.
Right? Yeah, I said I needed money to live. It's about a 17-year-old account.
Right.
and working for 17 years gets you to a certain point.
Right.
So I needed money to live, and I needed money to buy this subway tile, this chocolate ceiling. I'm like, all right, let's just pay the penalty, cash it out early, and then just live off of that. So that's what I did.
Okay.
So
so you're all in, no safety net anymore.
No safety net, and I said, this is some people might have done it another way, but to me that was the quickest way to fix a problem of getting the people outside of the element. And it's my money, and I'm paying the penalty, I'm losing it, but I can get it back.
Right.
So that's exactly what I did.
Right. So what was your everyday like back then, and then how's it different now, I guess?
Back when I quit engineering?
Right. So what was your everyday like, and is there any difference right now?
There is a difference. When I quit engineering and went full time with the 2 locations, my life was going between 2 locations. So I would be at the Shack. So we have names for each of these locations. I would be at the Shack, and then I would be at the shop. And then in 2018, we opened a 3rd location in Fort Worth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we had about 3 locations. So I was juggling 3 locations. So one day I would be in Fort Worth. Another day I would split it between these 2 in Dallas. And then that's how my life was.
How many employees do you have at this time?
At this time, we have 1 location, so we have 5 employees right now.
So back then, how many with 3 shops?
We had about 14.
Oh, wow. Okay.
14 employees.
Right.
And it was just juggling the 3 locations at the same time was just, I loved it. I got a thrill out of it, and just deciding on my own hours, where I want to go, if I want to be in Fort Worth today. So that's what it was then. And then now it's after COVID, 2 years of COVID, and the consequences and the impacts of COVID, it's how can we streamline? How can we condense? How can we make it less work? How can we also depend on, because the world is changing, so how can we depend less on a workforce who is exhausted too?
Right.
Right. So that's how it's changed. Now it's just 1 location, and every day trying to find, all right, do we really need to have 4 different chocolate ganaches?
Right.
Can we condense it into 1 chocolate ganache? The utensils, the bags. Can we use 1 bag to put all different size of cheesecakes in there? So it's consolidating all day and streamlining every day.
So what is your business like now? Is it mostly walk-ins, or do you cater more, or are the restaurants still ordering from you?
I can't, to save my life, I can't understand the cyclical aspects of Val Cheesecakes.
Okay.
It's last February, we've had the craziest month we've ever seen in 7 years.
So what do you mean by crazy, I guess?
The craziest meaning the most revenue we've ever seen. I till this day, I can't understand that. But there was Valentine's Day. There was Black History Month.
Right.
There's a lot of inclusive nature of different firms now, different entities. They're trying to bring people together, and maybe that's why. Also, the Shack is no longer open. We closed the Shack. Fort Worth is no longer open. I'm gonna jet to Greenville. I'm gonna come here, and our numbers have been higher, and actually it's possibly the best thing that could have happened to the business.
Right, this whole streamlining thing.
Yeah, just maybe that's what I needed for 7 years, and maybe I thought I was doing all these different locations, and come to find out, once you get one thing down, I think that's when you need to expand. It's a little bit of cheesecake, humble pie.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
So running this business has been, maybe this is what you do first.
Right.
You get a well-oiled machine, not just well-oiled, you know every single roll, you know every single cost, every single penny that you're spending. Maybe that should have been the way to go instead of, I need more space, emotional, the customers need inside, you know, just there's a great location in Fort Worth. Why not go for it? This might be the best thing we ever did. So it's eating a lot of humble cheesecakes these days and realizing that you can do things differently and more efficiently.
Right. We talked earlier about some of the challenges you're facing now. Can you go into that? What are since COVID, what are the biggest issues that you face so far?
Supply shortages for sure. Okay. You know, for the past couple of months, we couldn't find cream cheese, right?
Right.
If you can't find cream cheese, that's a problem.
Right.
Graham cracker, you know, Nabisco, I'm going to name some names. We called them and they said, we don't know when we're going to have that back on track. You know?
Are you able to keep up with the demand then?
So we have to change recipes. So a lot of times, so for example, vanilla wafers, right? Banana pudding cheesecake. We used to make the crust with vanilla wafers.
Right.
So now we no longer do it with vanilla wafers. We make it with graham cracker instead. And then we still put the wafers on top as decoration, but the amount of vanilla wafers we need, we can't sustain it at all. So that's just one example where we have to change recipes. We have to change what we're doing to fit the times. Oreo cookies. A few weeks ago, there were no Oreo cookies. We can't find Oreo cookies. And of course, the whole customer base, the entire customer base is saying, well, why don't you go to Kroger and buy? and that's a sweet statement, but we can't buy at a retail price. We can't just go buy retail cookies, and they're not in the format we need. So it's a whole train of thought that's going into revamping recipes, what we do, consolidating menus, changing this topping, putting this instead. So we're at the mercy of the industry right now and what we can find and what we can do. And the customer base has been extremely supportive. You know, they've even brought graham cracker.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they bring graham cracker here. When we go on social media and we say we don't have graham cracker, we can find it. There are people who bring boxes of graham crackers here. You know, there are people willing to bring cream cheese here. Say, okay, I'm going to bring you some cream cheese.
That is awesome.
So that's the type of business I have, and I'm very lucky to have a customer base who goes through the changes with me and sticks with me. And that is the most powerful thing I think Val Cheesecake has. It's this loyalty, this customer base that will support, that will go to the end of the world. And I don't take that for granted at all.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So tell us about what would you tell someone who's thinking about starting a business, to be an entrepreneur, take that leap like you did? What's some tips and advice you would give to them?
I would first search your heart and search your wallet. Okay. I think Val searched his heart first. You know, it was my mother. I needed to tell the story of my mother, and everything was governed by, I need to let people know about this cheesecake. Right. You know, for example, when Matt Spillers told me to bring one cheesecake, I brought 13. Right. That's an expense right there to make 13 cheesecake. But I needed to tell. I searched my heart. I was always in my heart like, I gotta show Matt Spillers 13 cheesecake because that's what my mom tasted. So it's been like that. It's always been, I gotta go to Fort Worth because Fort Worth people need to know about my mom. Right. And so I would say to people to search your heart for sure, if this is your passion, but also search your wallet. Search your wallet, meaning put together how you're gonna spend your money, where you're gonna get it from, and how you're gonna get it back.
Sure.
So I would definitely start with that. And then 2 more things is, for sure, build your entity first. Do not go to the county and get your name, because without having the proper entity, because that means you got to go back to the county. And because of the changes I made in my entity, I had to go back to the county multiple times and
Sure.
changing that. And then what has kept me out of trouble is a good lawyer and a good accountant.
Okay.
And I have Berdado and associates for that, and Paget Consulting for that for 7 years. They've been through the ringer with me, and they keep me out of tax problems, out of trouble. When I need to make a decision, if I need to change my business model, I go back to my accountant and my attorney. Listen, this is what we're doing. How does it fit? Do you think it makes sense?
Right.
So I would suggest starting with that. And we didn't have, in 2012, we didn't have the attorney and accountant. And if you can't afford that, there are resources out there for cheaper, for less expensive routes of getting legal advice and financial advice. So
Right.
that's what I would suggest for sure.
Awesome. And then you told me that there's some changes coming to Val's. So tell us about what you're thinking and what these changes are going to happen, I guess.
Well, because of one of the challenges we have is not only supply shortages, but also labor.
Mm-hmm.
We can't find people to bake the cheesecakes. Val's Cheesecakes has always been about flexibility, quality of life, all the major issues that came bubbled up throughout COVID-19. We've always been that since 2015. I've always been about, I never had the flexibility at my engineering job, so I'm going to give my team members, my employees, the flexibility I never had.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always been that from 2015. So flexibility, we're all about that. Quality of life, we're all about that. Pay, we pay people beyond market value. We've always been about that. But right now, we're not, even with all these benefits, we're not finding the people we need to bake the cheesecakes.
Right.
And that is presenting trouble. That is presenting a problem. And so for us, what we're doing now is changing the model of Val's Cheesecake one more time. This customer base has been with me, and we change our hours every month. They are still coming here like clockwork. And what we notice, they come here like clockwork Friday through Sunday.
Okay.
So we've realized the bulk of our revenue is Friday through Sunday, as well as catering. Mm-hmm. So why not focus on those 2 options?
Right.
Friday through Sunday, and then still offer the catering on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Because we're closed on Monday. We need one day
Right.
to get our minds together.
That's right.
So that's exactly what we're doing. We're changing the business model where we're going to do just catering during the week and possibly some delivery apps during the week, but we'll be fully open for a cheesecake show Friday through Sunday. And when I say a cheesecake show, meaning going back to how I started as a pop-up shop at the Dallas Farmers Market every weekend, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We had multiple flavors during the weekend, and more flavors and more specials. We have a farmers market, a neighborhood market that is starting here on the grounds of Val Cheesecakes on April 9th. We are thinking of a bus tour and during the weekend. So it's almost like the weekend is a total, show that we're putting, and that's what we want to get back to. And at the end of the day, it even coincides with my mother's story of baking on the weekends.
Right.
So it almost makes sense to streamline it to the weekend into what actually keeps the doors open. And I even think it will help the team members we have, because some of them will be working less.
Mm-hmm.
they can focus on other things that they have in their lives. And I think it will work not just for me, but for the team members, and also for the corporate orders, for the customer base that is just excited here on the weekend. There is a line outside the door on the weekend.
Right.
So why not accentuate that a little bit more?
So just to placate any fears, you're not going anywhere. You'll still be open for business Friday,
Yes.
Monday, and Sunday here at the Greenville location.
Yes,
Okay.
I'll still be
All right.
open Friday through Sunday. We have another kitchen that is opening, but it's more of a catering, shipping, and renting
Okay.
of the space to small bakers, because we want to give back to bakers who, I think in 2014, I was at the church. I had a good thing going on with the church for 2.5 years.
Right.
They let me bake in there. And there are countless small business owners that would love a space where they can bake. And we want to make it profitable at that other kitchen where they can rent it, and we can actually use that as a different source of revenue for us as well.
Absolutely. Well, Val, I think we're going to end it there.
Oh my God, no.
Like I thought, this is a great story.
Thank you.
Inspirational. I can't wish you all the luck in the world. We got to get you back maybe in a year or so just to see how things are still going.
Okay, yeah,
and,
for sure.
Thank you so much. This was great.
Thank you, and I don't care what I heard about you, David. You do a great job. You're a great host, okay?
Thank you so much.